This week, I learned about ghost projects. What can be considered a government ghost project? What telltale signs the general public should look for? How it can be avoided and safeguards to prevent such projects from coming to life. And I am sharing it with you.
Have you ever heard of a government project that's been paid for, signed off on, and officially stamped 100% complete, but it just doesn't exist? Well, today we are stepping into a really strange corner of governance to investigate what are called ghost projects. It's kind of like architectural gaslighting, where the only thing that actually gets built is a trail of fake documents. Okay, let's get into it. So get a load of this. On the left, you've got the official story. A government project, all approved, stamped, and filed away as 100% complete. Then you look to the right, and you see the reality on the ground. Just an empty, muddy field where a multi-million peso flood wall is supposed to be standing. And this isn't just a construction delay, it's a total fabrication, a phantom on the public ledger. And that's the heart of the problem we're digging into today, this huge gap between the paper and the pavement.
And believe me, this isn't some low-level issue. This problem goes right to the very top. That quote you see, that's from the president himself, talking about where the money for these non-existent flood control projects went. It's a really blunt admission of, well, systemic theft. Money that was meant to protect people from disasters just gone. This really sets the stage for what is a truly staggering crisis.
So how in the world does a ghost project even happen? I mean, this isn't an accident. It's not a simple engineering mistake. It's a carefully planned and executed heist. So right now, we're going to deconstruct that process, piece by piece, to really understand how billions in public funds can be spent on, well, thin air. Okay, so this infographic gives us a great bird's-eye view of the whole scheme. Think of it as our roadmap. Over on the left, you've got the anatomy of the scam itself. Fake reports, bloated budgets, rigged bidding, the works. Right in the middle, you see the core problem, a project that's 100% complete on paper, but 0% complete in reality. And then on the right, we've got the audit, and most importantly, the cure. Now, before we go any further, let's be super clear on what we're talking about. A ghost project is not just a white elephant. You know, a useless building that at least got finished. No, this is a phantom. It's a project that exists only in the paperwork. The money's been paid, the funds are gone, but when you actually go to the location, there's nothing there. Or what is there is just a sad, unfinished shadow of what was promised. You know, the creation of these phantoms really rests on 4 key pillars. First up, you have falsified accomplishment reports. This is where officials just flat out lie on paper, claiming work is done when it's not. Second, padded budgets and forged receipts, where money is set aside for materials that are never, ever ordered. Third, collusion and kickback bidding, where contracts are handed to shell companies specifically designed to funnel money right back to corrupt officials. And finally, the grand finale, the paper-only finish. The project is marked fully dispersed, and the stolen money just vanishes into thin air. So yeah, this is a pretty clever scam, but it comes with a devastating real-world cost. Let's take a minute to really size up the staggering financial and social damage these phantom projects are causing. Just let that number sink in for a moment. Up to 118.5 billion pesos. That's the high-end estimate of the loss from just a single audit of these projects. This isn't a rounding error. It's a catastrophic bleed of the national budget. We're talking about money that was supposed to build our schools, our hospitals, and life-saving infrastructure that has simply disappeared. And this table right here shows you just how big the problem is. Look, the Department of Justice has already confirmed 14 ghost projects, and cases have been filed. Then a wider audit of 8,000 projects found another 421 ghosts, which accounts for that massive economic loss we just saw. But the scary part? Look at that last line. There are still 100,000 projects left in the audit. What we found so far might just be the tip of a very, very big iceberg.
Now, this might all seem like a problem just for government auditors, but it's really not. The fight against this kind of corruption actually starts on the ground. So let's shift gears and arm you with the knowledge you need to become a bit of a ghost hunter in your own community. So what should you be looking for? You know, what are the clues that an official project sign in your neighborhood might be hiding nothing but empty promises? Well, it turns out there are several clear, telltale red flags that investigators and really any vigilant citizen can use to expose these schemes. All right, here's your investigator's checklist. First,
Check the map. Seriously. Look for weird discrepancies in the government's own planning system, where the project coordinates point to an empty field or the middle of a river. Second, ask to see the paperwork. Any real project should have public blueprints and soil tests. If they're missing, that's a huge red flag. Next, look for other kinds of ghosts, like ghost employees on the payroll or ghost expenses for machinery that was never even rented. And finally, the most obvious sign of all. Just look. Does a wall just stop in the middle of a field? Is a building that's listed as 100% complete clearly unfinished? Trust your own eyes over the official documents.
Okay, so identifying the problem is step one, but the real challenge is finding the cure. Luckily, a systematic problem requires a systematic solution. So let's look at the modern methods being used to, well, exorcise these ghosts from the system for good.
The government is finally shifting to a zero-tolerance policy, and the new rule is simple and it is severe. Lifetime blacklisting. If a contractor gets caught building a ghost project, they are immediately and permanently banned from all future government work. No more second chances, no more slaps on the wrist. One strike and you are out of the system forever. And we now have the technology to make this kind of fraud nearly impossible to pull off. This image captures the modern Curafin perfectly. Drones, satellites, and geotagging. They provide undeniable, time-stamped proof of what's actually happening on a construction site. You can't fake a satellite image. You can't forge a GPS coordinate. It's all about replacing blind trust in paperwork with verifiable digital evidence. Let's break down these safeguards. Geotagging and satellite imaging give us that visual proof we were just talking about. Then you have things like blockchain technology, which can create an unchangeable, tamper-proof record for all the money, making it impossible to forge receipts or pad budgets. And critically, we're seeing a real push for community monitoring, empowering regular citizens to be the eyes and ears on the ground. And finally, you have powerful, independent commissions that can freeze assets and really enforce accountability. It's a multi-pronged attack. But all of these tools, the policies, the tech, the commissions, they all rely on one single underlying principle. The ultimate weapon in this fight isn't a drone or a blockchain. It's something much, much more fundamental. This quote really says it all, doesn't it? The fight against ghost projects is part of a long historical struggle for government transparency. Just like those heroic excavators used freedom of information laws to uncover secrets in the past, citizens and journalists today have to use those same tools to demand answers about how public money is spent. See, secrecy is the soil where corruption grows. Transparency is the sunlight that gets rid of it. And this comparison draws a really powerful line from the past to the present. Decades ago, a top official could actually joke about illegal and unconstitutional things happening behind closed doors. Today, the illegal part is the theft of 118.5 billion pesos through these ghost projects. And the unconstitutional part? It's a system that allows this to happen in the dark. Public access to information is what turns that unconstitutional behavior into accountable action. So, where does all this leave us? We've looked at the anatomy of the crime, we've seen the scale of the damage, and we've talked about the tools we have to fight back. But the way forward isn't just about government reform. It's about a fundamental shift in our role as citizens. It's so important to remember what's really at stake here. This isn't just about abstract numbers on a spreadsheet. Every single peso that's lost to a ghost project is a textbook that wasn't bought for a child, a hospital bed that wasn't funded for the sick, or a flood wall that wasn't built to protect a family's home. It is a direct theft from the most vulnerable people in society, and it's a betrayal of the basic contract between a government and its people. And that brings us to the final crucial question. The technology exists, the policies are being put into place, the power of information is in our hands. We know how to expose these phantoms and bring them into the light. Ghosts thrive in the dark, right? They disappear when we demand transparency. So the question is no longer, can we fight them, but will we?
Did you learn something new and exciting about keeping ghost projects from happening? What are your thoughts? Share it here. I want to know about it too.